She should have gone straight home that night. Instead, Maya Torres walked into the pulsing chaos of Eclipse Nightclub, and 9 months later, she was cradling a baby girl she never planned for and facing the man she couldn't forget across an audition room that held her entire future. But let me back up to the moment everything changed. The VIP section of Eclipse was exactly the kind of place Maya didn't belong. Velvet ropes separated the ordinary from the extraordinary, and the champagne flowing freely cost more than her monthly rent. She sat at the edge of the dance floor, her phone still warm from the call that had shattered her composure. Her mother's voice, trying to sound strong, telling her the insurance had denied the surgery again. The procedure that could save her mother's life was slipping further out of reach. And Maya had just been fired from her job at the marketing firm, let go in budget cuts that left her drowning in medical bills she'd never be able to pay. She was the woman who always had a plan, who'd worked 3 jobs to put herself through college, who never made impulsive decisions. But that night, she just wanted to forget she was responsible for everything. She wanted one night where she wasn't the person everyone depended on. That's when he walked in. Tall, dark-skinned, leather jacket over a designer shirt, moving through the crowd like he owned the place. And maybe he did, because when Darius stepped up to the bar beside her, commanding attention without saying a word, the entire club seemed to shift in his direction. He ordered whiskey neat and stared at it like it held answers. Maya should have looked away. Instead, she said, "Rough night." He glanced over, and those intense brown eyes hit her like a physical thing. Tired, yes, but also sharp. Aware. There was a pause, then a slight smile that didn't quite reach those eyes. The kind where you're questioning every decision that brought you here. "Then we're in the same boat," she said. He laughed, low and genuine. Then he picked up his glass, moved to the seat beside her. "I'm supposed to be at a label meeting right now. Signing away the next 10 years of my life to people who want to turn me into something I'm not." She raised an eyebrow. "That's either very dramatic or very real. Considering I built my production company from nothing, and they're now demanding I merge with a corporate machine that'll destroy everything I created, I'm leaning toward real." He took a drink. "My business partner scheduled the meeting without telling me. Invited investors who expect me to smile and sign contracts that give them creative control." "They're stealing your vision," Maya said quietly. "Exactly." He looked at her with genuine surprise. "Most people don't get that." Understanding flickered across Maya's face. Her entire life was obligation she hadn't chosen, dreams deferred for everyone else's needs. "I'm Maya," she said, though she didn't know why. They were strangers in a nightclub. "Darius." He extended his hand, and when she took it, something electric passed between them. Not just attraction, though that was immediate and undeniable. It was recognition. 2 people suffocating under the weight of everyone else's expectations. "Hey star. Welcome to Diaries of Love. If you're new here, join the Pride family by hitting that subscribe button. And if you've been watching but haven't subscribed yet, come on. Don't just watch, belong." They talked for an hour about nothing and everything. He told her about growing up in Southside Chicago, about building a music production empire from his bedroom studio, about how he was now losing control of the thing he'd created. She told him about her mother, about the crushing math of medical debt, about how she'd just lost her job and had no idea how to save the person she loved most. The music made her honest. Or maybe it was the way he listened, really listened like her words mattered. "What if we just forget it all?" he said suddenly. "Just for tonight. No names, no reality, no consequences. Just 2 people choosing something reckless for once." She should have said no. The responsible version of herself, the one who woke up at dawn and balanced budgets and never took risks, was screaming to walk away. Instead, she met those brown eyes and said, "One night." He smiled, real this time, and something in her chest shifted. "Then let's make it count." When he kissed her, it felt like falling and flying at the same time, like freedom she'd never allowed herself. She didn't know that one reckless night would change everything. She didn't know she was already falling in love. Dawn broke over the Chicago skyline in shades of golden pink streaming through the floor-to-ceiling windows of the hotel suite. Maya woke first, her body still warm from Darius beside her. He was sleeping peacefully, one arm stretched across the space where she'd been, dark locks falling across his forehead. He looked younger in sleep, free from whatever burden had drawn those lines around his eyes. Reality crashed back like a wave. She had a mother in the hospital, bills that wouldn't pay themselves, and no job to fall back on. This was supposed to be just one night, an escape, a moment of recklessness in a life built on responsibility. But lying there watching him sleep, it felt like something more. Something dangerous. Maya dressed quietly, her hands shaking as she buttoned her blouse. Every part of her wanted to stay, to wake him, to see if whatever burned between them last night could survive daylight. But she knew better. He had a label meeting waiting. A life as complicated as hers was struggling. She found a hotel notepad on the nightstand, scribbled with the pen. "Thank you for letting me be reckless." She left it on the pillow where she'd slept and walked out before she could change her mind. Darius woke to an empty bed and a note that felt like a gut punch. The suite was silent except for the hum of the air conditioning and the distant sounds of the city below. He read the note 3 times, searching for something more than a goodbye. A number, a last name, anything. His phone shattered the quiet with 23 missed calls. His business partner, his lawyer, the investors. They'd finalized the merger documents. The announcement was going out today, complete with press releases about the future of Kane Productions and how Darius would be stepping into a creative advisory role. Code for losing all control. The board meeting was scheduled for next week. Marcus Chen was already positioning himself as the new CEO, ready to exploit any weakness, any crack in Darius's armor. His assistant, James, arrived within the hour, tablet in hand, damage control mode activated. "You need to show up and smile," he said, not unkindly. "Sign the papers, or Marcus will use your absence to push you out completely. At least this way, you keep some equity." Darius agreed numbly. But his mind was elsewhere. On a woman who signed her name with just a letter, on a night that felt more real than anything in his carefully constructed life. 6 weeks passed like a fever dream. Maya stared at 2 pink lines on a pregnancy test. Then at the second test. Then the third. A girl. The doctor confirmed it with an ultrasound that made her world tilt on its axis. She was terrified, alone, with no way to contact the father. She didn't even know his last name, just the memory of his hands and the way he'd looked at her with those intense brown eyes. She made the decision alone, like she made every decision. She would handle this. She always did. In Chicago, Darius went through the motions of his merger like a man underwater. Press conferences with Marcus's hand on his shoulder, board meetings where he smiled and nodded while slowly losing control of his own company. Every night he stared at that hotel notepad, wondering about M. Then Marcus Chen launched his final play. The hostile takeover was complete. Darius was being pushed out entirely. The emergency board meeting was called for a Friday morning. Kane Productions' conference room filled with lawyers, board members, and entertainment industry officials. Darius sat at the head of the table, Marcus beside him, wearing his new CEO title like a weapon. When the door opened, the new consultant from the Chicago Arts Council walked in, professional in a burgundy suit, portfolio under her arm, natural hair pulled back into a sleek bun. Maya Torres froze mid-step. Darius's entire world stopped. Their eyes met across the boardroom, and the air turned electric. Recognition, shock, something deeper that neither could name. Marcus's gaze snapped between them, sharp and suspicious. "You two know each other?" Maya recovered first, years of professional composure sliding into place like armor. "We've never met," she said smoothly, extending her hand across the table. "Maya Torres, Arts and Entertainment Consultant with the Chicago Arts Council. I'm here to review Kane Productions' programming compliance as part of the city's cultural funding investigation." Her hand was steady, her voice cool, but when Darius shook her hand, that same electric current from 6 weeks ago shot through both of them. Maya pulled away too quickly. Darius was reeling. The woman from that night was here in his boardroom. And she had a name now. Maya Torres. She was the consultant who would determine whether his company kept its city funding, and she was looking at him like he was a stranger. The meeting dragged on for 2 hours. Maya presented her audit timeline, requested access to production records, asked pointed questions about programming diversity and community outreach. She was brilliant, Darius realized, sharp and methodical, catching discrepancies that others missed. She never looked directly at him unless necessary, and when she did, her expression was perfectly neutral. But he saw the tension in her shoulders, the way her fingers gripped her pen just a little too tightly. When the meeting finally adjourned, Maya gathered her materials quickly, clearly planning to escape. Darius caught her in the hallway outside his office, his hand gentle but firm on her elbow. "We need to talk." She pulled away, glancing around to make sure they were alone. "There's nothing to discuss. It was one night, Mr. Kane." Mr. Kane. Like they were strangers, like he hadn't memorized the sound of her laughter, the taste of her skin. "Darius," he said, voice low and rough. "My name is Darius, and you know it. And we have everything to discuss." "You have a company to save," Maya said, voice cold, professional, but he heard the hurt underneath. "That night was a mistake." "It wasn't a mistake." He stepped closer, desperate to make her understand. "I looked for you, Maya. I had people search hotel registries, everything. I wanted to find you." Something flickered in her eyes. Surprise, maybe hope, but she crushed it quickly. "Well, you found me. Congratulations. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have work to do." She turned to leave, but 3 steps down the hallway, she stopped. Her hand went to her stomach, her face paling. The portfolio slipped from her grip. Darius caught her before she could fall, steadying her against him. "Maya." She took a shaky breath, and that's when he saw it. The subtle changes he'd been too shocked to notice in the boardroom, the slight fullness in her face, the way her suit jacket strained slightly at the buttons, the exhaustion shadowing her eyes. "Are you?" He couldn't finish the question. Her silence was confirmation enough. "Are you pregnant?" The question came out softer than he intended. Panic flashed across her face. "It's not your concern." "Maya." "It's not your concern," she said firmly. "I'm handling it." He studied her face, saw the trembling in her hand she was trying to hide. "When's the last time you saw a doctor?" "I have an appointment next week." "You're pale, dizzy, and you almost just collapsed." His voice was gentle now, not accusing. "Let me take you to the hospital. Just to make sure you're okay." "I told you." "I don't care if it's mine or not," he interrupted, though his heart hammered at the possibility. "You're not well, and I'm not letting you walk out of here alone. Please." Maybe it was the please. Maybe it was the genuine concern in his eyes. Or maybe it was the bone-deep exhaustion of carrying everything alone for so long. But Maya nodded. "If you've made it to this point of the story, it means you're hooked and you're enjoying this story. Now, tell me, is it fair that you haven't subscribed to join the Pride family?" Darius took her to Northwestern Memorial Hospital, stayed while they ran tests, held her water bottle when her hands shook too much. He didn't ask questions, didn't push, just sat beside her in the emergency room like he had every right to be there. The doctor confirmed what Maya already knew. 12 weeks pregnant, healthy baby girl, but she needed to manage her stress levels and eat regularly. After the doctor left, Darius handed her the discharge papers without a word, walked her to his car, drove toward her apartment in silence. It was the gentleness that broke her. The way he'd held her elbow when she stumbled. The way he'd asked the doctor questions she'd been too scared to ask. The way he hadn't demanded anything, just stayed. "She's yours," Maya whispered as he pulled up to her building. "The baby. She's yours." Darius's hands tightened on the steering wheel. He turned to face her, and his eyes were bright with something she couldn't name. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because you have a company to save. Because you have a life I don't fit into. Because I didn't know how to find you." "I'm not letting you do this alone." "You don't have a choice." Her voice cracked. "I'm not your responsibility, Darius. I'm not some problem you need to manage. I can handle this alone. You shouldn't have to. But I will. I always do. Not this time." He reached for her hand, and she didn't pull away. "Maya, I'm going to be a father. That changes everything." Before she could respond, movement caught her eye. Marcus Chen stood outside her building, watching them through the car window. His smile was sharp as a blade. "Isn't this interesting?" Marcus tapped on the car window, and Darius had no choice but to step out. Maya followed, legs unsteady, still processing everything that had happened at the hospital. "So," Marcus said, circling them like a predator, "the consultant investigating my company is carrying the former CEO's baby. How very scandalous." "Marcus, this isn't," Darius started, but Marcus cut him off with a laugh that held no warmth. "Save it. I've been waiting for something like this." His eyes glittered with malice. "You want to know the truth, Darius?" I've been planning this takeover for 2 years. Your company, your reputation, everything. And now this. He gestured at Maya. This is perfect. Darius's jaw clenched. What do you want? Simple. You sign over the remaining equity you have, walk away quietly, or I leak everything. The scandal, your consultant conflict of interest, all of it. Her career will be destroyed. Yours will be in ruins. And that child. He gestured dismissively at Maya. She'll be born to parents with nothing. Maya felt the ground shift beneath her. Everything she'd worked for, her reputation, her career, gone in one headline. But Darius stepped forward, placing himself between Marcus and Maya. No. Marcus blinked. Excuse me. Do your worst, Darius said, voice steel. I'm not giving you my company or my life. For a moment, genuine fury flashed across Marcus's face. Then he smiled, colder than before. You'll regret this. Both of you. He turned and walked away, leaving them standing in the Chicago cold. Darius reached for Maya's hand. We'll fight this together. And despite everything, Maya believed him. The next morning, Maya arrived at Kane Productions' offices before dawn. If Marcus thought he could threaten her into silence, he didn't know who he was dealing with. She'd built her career uncovering corruption in arts organizations, finding patterns where others saw chaos. Darius had granted her full access to the company's financial systems, something that made her both grateful and uneasy. She was supposed to be an impartial consultant, but there was nothing impartial about carrying a man's child while investigating his company. Still, the truth mattered more than optics right now. The first anomaly appeared in the community outreach program records. Small discrepancies in the grant distributions, barely noticeable unless you knew what to look for. Maya pulled up the funding database and cross-referenced it with actual program deliverables. That's when she saw it. A shadow operation running parallel to Kane Productions' legitimate community programs. Someone had been siphoning city arts funding, creating fake youth programs that existed only on paper. The money was being funneled through shell companies disguised as non-profit organizations. Her hands trembled as she traced the digital footprints. This wasn't just corporate fraud. This was systematic theft of public funds meant to help underserved communities. She worked through the morning, coffee growing cold beside her, pulling thread after thread. The stolen funds were being laundered through an intricate web of fake organizations, all connected back to Marcus Chen's various business entities. The numbers were staggering. Over $15 million in city arts funding stolen over the past 3 years. And Marcus had positioned everything to make it look like Darius had orchestrated the entire scheme. Maya was so focused on the financial records that she almost missed the secondary file buried in the encrypted server. A folder labeled, Insurance Claims, flagged. Curiosity made her open it. The spreadsheet contained hundreds of names, people whose health insurance had been mysteriously cancelled or denied. Victims whose medical claims had been systematically rejected through fraudulent documentation. She scrolled through, her heart sinking with each entry, until she saw a name that made her blood run cold. Lorraine Torres. Chicago, Illinois. Her mother. Maya's vision blurred. The mysterious insurance cancellation that her mother's doctors couldn't explain. The sudden denial of the life-saving surgery. The medical bills that multiplied impossibly. It wasn't bureaucratic error or bad luck. It was this. Marcus and his network had been using Kane Productions' connections to insurance companies to manipulate claims. They'd been targeting the families of employees and consultants, creating leverage, manufacturing crises they could exploit. Maya. Darius's voice came from the doorway. Are you okay? She couldn't speak, just turned her laptop toward him, showing her mother's name highlighted on the screen. Understanding dawned across his face, followed by fury. They did this to your family. They've done it to hundreds of families, Maya said, voice shaking. Using your company's reputation as cover. And they plan to frame you for all of it. She showed him the rest. The evidence trail designed to make it look like Darius had orchestrated the entire operation. Fabricated emails with his digital signature. Falsified authorization codes. When Marcus's takeover bid succeeded, he would discover the fraud, expose Darius as the mastermind, and position himself as the hero who saved Kane Productions. There's more, Maya said, pulling up another encrypted folder. We weren't random, Darius. That night we met wasn't coincidence. She showed him the files. Marcus had been tracking Darius's movements for months. He'd known about the club, about Darius's habit of escaping there when stressed. He'd arranged for Maya to be assigned to the Kane Productions audit specifically because of her reputation and her vulnerable situation. He knew about my mother, Maya said, the realization making her sick. He knew I was desperate. He thought if we met, if something happened between us, he could use it as leverage later. He orchestrated our meeting. Darius stared at the screen. Why? Blackmail. Maya opened the final folder, and they both froze. Photos. Dozens of them. Darius and Maya at the bar, laughing, walking through the hotel lobby, in the elevator. All time-stamped. All professionally taken by someone who'd been following them all night. He was going to use these to force you to sign over the company, Maya said. Threatened to leak a scandal about your secret affair. But then I got pregnant, and that made it even better for him. Now he can claim you hired me before the audit to manipulate findings. He can destroy both our careers and send us to prison for fraud. Darius's jaw clenched. He's been planning this for years. Years, Maya confirmed, showing him the earliest financial discrepancies. The insurance fraud, the grant theft, it's all been building. Marcus has been inside your company the whole time, setting this trap. They sat in silence, the weight of it crushing. Then Maya noticed something else in the server files. Communication logs between Marcus and names she recognized from federal fraud investigations. Organized crime figures. Corporate raiders with connections to international money laundering operations. They're connected to something bigger, she said. This isn't just about Kane Productions. Marcus has ties to criminal organizations across multiple industries. They're the ones buying the stolen identities, laundering the grant money. Before Darius could respond, the office door opened. Marcus walked in, immaculate as always, his smile predatory. Still digging, Maya? You always were thorough. He perched on the edge of the desk. Found the photos yet? They're good, aren't they? Especially the ones from the elevator. You destroyed my mother's life, Maya said, standing. You've destroyed hundreds of lives. Marcus shrugged. Business is business. You should have stayed away from this audit. But you needed the money too badly, didn't you? Desperate people make such predictable choices. This ends now, Darius said. Does it? Marcus's smile widened. Those photos are time-stamped before the audit was assigned. I'll prove Maya was already compromised. Already sleeping with you. You'll both go to prison for fraud and corruption. Your daughter will be born while her mother's awaiting trial. He leaned forward. Or you sign over the company, and everyone walks away clean. Your choice. After he left, Darius and Maya stared at each other across the devastated office. He used my company to destroy people's lives, Darius said quietly. And he used us to cover it up. Maya looked back at her screen, at her mother's name, at the hundreds of other victims, at the evidence of a criminal conspiracy that reached far beyond a corporate takeover. Then we make sure he pays for it, Maya said. All of them. They worked through the night, compiling evidence into a comprehensive file for the FBI and Chicago Arts Council. Maya's analytical mind, the same skill that made her one of the best consultants in the industry, allowed her to navigate the encrypted servers with precision. She documented access codes, server locations, backup protocols, everything they'd need to prove the conspiracy. By dawn, they had enough to bury Marcus for decades. Wire fraud, identity theft, money laundering, insurance fraud, grant theft. The evidence was irrefutable. I'll take this to the FBI field office this morning, Maya said, backing up files to a secure drive. Then to the Arts Council. They'll freeze all of Marcus's assets before he knows what hit him. Darius pulled her close, protective. I'm coming with you. You need to stay here. Keep everything looking normal. If Marcus suspects we're onto him, he'll run. She touched his face. I'll be fine. It's a federal building. What's he going to do? What Marcus did was wait until she left the Kane Productions building. Maya was halfway to her rental car in the underground parking garage when she sensed movement behind her. She turned, reaching for her phone, but strong hands grabbed her from both sides. A cloth covered her mouth and nose, chemicals sweet and suffocating. She fought, trying to scream, but the world tilted and darkened. When consciousness returned, Maya was in a windowless room that looked like a server facility. Banks of computers hummed around her, casting everything in blue light. Her hands were zip-tied to a chair, and her head throbbed where she'd hit something during the struggle. Marcus Chen stood in front of her, expensive suit immaculate, expression cold. "You're very good at your job, Miss Torres. Too good. You found things that were supposed to stay buried." "The FBI knows I'm here," she lied, testing the zip ties. "They didn't budge." "No, they don't. Your rental car is currently driving to O'Hare Airport. Your phone sent a text to Darius saying you needed space to think. Technology is wonderful." Marcus crouched to her eye level. "Here's your problem. Those encrypted servers you've been digging through? They have biometric access and rotating encryption keys that change every 6 hours. And according to our IT forensics, someone with an exceptional memory has been navigating them without writing anything down." Maya's stomach dropped. She'd been so careful, but she'd underestimated how closely they were monitoring their own systems. "You have the current encryption keys memorized," Marcus continued. "All of them. Which means you're the only person who can access those servers right now to wipe the evidence before it cycles to new keys that even we can't break." "I'll never help you." Marcus smiled, and it was the smile of a man who'd anticipated every move. He pulled out his phone, showed her a photo. Her mother leaving the hospital, unaware she was being watched. "Your mother's still struggling with those medical bills, isn't she? Be a shame if something happened to her." Or, his eyes dropped to Maya's stomach, "If something happened that caused complications with your pregnancy." Fear, cold and sharp, cut through Maya's defiance. "You wouldn't. I've destroyed hundreds of lives, Maya. What's two more?" Marcus gestured to the servers. "Unlock those systems and wipe them clean. Every backup, every file, every piece of evidence. Do it now, or you and your unborn child disappear. We'll dump your body somewhere in Lake Michigan. Another tragic missing person case. Darius will spend the rest of his life wondering what happened to you." A woman entered then, Sienna Park, Marcus's second-in-command. She set a laptop in front of Maya. "Make this easy on yourself. Type in the encryption keys, initiate the wipe protocol, and you walk out of here. Your mother stays safe. Your baby stays safe. You go back to your life and forget any of this happened." "And if I refuse?" Maya asked, though she already knew. Marcus pulled out a gun, checked the chamber with casual efficiency. "Then we find out how much pain a pregnant woman can endure before she cooperates." "I'm betting not much." Maya's mind raced. The encryption keys were changing in 4 hours. If she could stall, the keys would reset and they'd lose access entirely. But 4 hours was a long time when someone was threatening her child. She thought of her mother, of the baby growing inside her, of Darius back at the office, probably just now realizing she'd never made it to the FBI. "There are 27 different encryption keys across multiple server networks," she said slowly. "It'll take time to input them all correctly." "Then you'd better start typing," Marcus said, pressing the gun against her temple. "And Miss Torres? If you try anything clever, if you input even one wrong key that triggers a security lockdown, I'll know. And you'll regret it." Sienna cut the zip ties on Maya's right hand, leaving her left still bound to the chair. She pulled the laptop closer, fingers hovering over the keys. She could do this. She could input the codes, wipe the evidence, walk away. Keep herself and her baby safe. Or she could fight and risk everything. The gun pressed harder against her skull. "I'm not a patient man, Miss Torres. Start typing." Maya's fingers moved to the keyboard, but before she could make a decision, her watch vibrated. A message flashed across the screen, so quick that only she could see it. "FBI en route. Stall. D." Relief and terror flooded through her in equal measure. Darius had figured it out. He'd activated the emergency tracker she'd shown him, the one embedded in her watch. Help was coming. She just had to survive long enough for them to arrive. "The first encryption key is 47 characters long," Maya said, typing slowly. "One mistake and it locks everything down permanently." Marcus checked his watch. "You have 3 hours and 52 minutes. I suggest you work faster." Maya began typing, making each keystroke deliberate, explaining each step, buying every second she could. Her baby was depending on her. Her mother was depending on her. And somewhere out there, Darius was coming for her. Darius stood in the Kane Productions parking garage, staring at Maya's abandoned portfolio. Her phone was gone, her car was gone, but her briefcase with all her research was still there, dropped beside her parking space like she'd been interrupted. Terror clawed at his chest. He'd called her 3 times. Each call went straight to voicemail. Then a text came through. Need some space to think. Going to the airport. Don't worry. But Maya wouldn't leave her research behind. She wouldn't leave without saying goodbye. And she'd never send a text that cold, that impersonal. Something was wrong. Darius pulled up the security app on his phone, the one Maya had installed yesterday when she'd shown him the tracking features of her watch. In case anything happens, she'd said. In case Marcus tries something. The location pinged immediately. An industrial area on the south side. Nowhere near the airport. Darius called James. Get me the FBI. Nah. And get building schematics for this address. He sent the location. Maya's been taken. Boss, if we call the FBI, they'll want to know why. I don't care what they want to know. Darius's voice cracked. She's pregnant. She's in danger. Get them on the phone now. 15 minutes later, Darius was racing toward the south side in his car. FBI agent Rodriguez on speakerphone. Mr. Kane, I need you to stay away from that location, Rodriguez said. We have tactical teams mobilizing now. Do not engage. That's my child in there, Darius said. I'm not waiting. If you go in there, you could compromise the entire operation. You could get her killed. The words hit like a physical blow. Darius forced himself to slow down, to pull over 2 blocks from the target location. How long until your teams arrive? 7 minutes. Then I'll wait 6.5. He disconnected. James called back. Boss, I've got the building schematics. It's an old data center, 3 exits, security cameras on a closed circuit. And Darius? I pulled financial records. Marcus Chen has been leasing that building under a shell company for 2 years. This was planned. Darius stared at the building in the distance, watching, waiting, counting down the seconds until he could storm in there and bring Maya home. Inside the data center, Maya had typed 5 encryption keys, each one taking longer than the last. Her fingers cramped, her head throbbed, but she kept going, kept stalling. Marcus was getting impatient. You're going too slowly. You want me to make a mistake? Maya asked. Lock everything down permanently? Because I can do that. One wrong character and you'll never access these files again. Sienna checked her watch. 3 hours left. That's when they heard it. The distant sound of vehicles approaching. Multiple vehicles. Marcus moved to the window, cursed viciously. FBI. How did they? Because I sent them everything before you grabbed me, Maya lied. Every file, every transaction, every stolen identity. It's already in federal hands. Sienna's composure cracked. You're bluffing. Am I? Check your phone. I'm betting you have some very urgent calls from your offshore accounts right about now. Marcus's phone began vibrating. Then Sienna's. The color drained from their faces as they read the notifications. Assets frozen. Accounts under federal investigation. Warrants issued. Marcus grabbed Maya, gun to her temple. Then you're my insurance policy. I'll delete everything. They'll never prove it. Already proved it, Maya said, voice steady despite her racing heart. Distributed backup. Every transaction, every stolen dollar, time-stamped and encrypted where you can't touch it. Even if you wipe your servers, the evidence exists in systems you can't reach. The FBI tactical team burst through multiple entry points simultaneously, red laser sights cutting through the dusty air. And there behind them was Darius, his face a mixture of fury and relief. It's over, Marcus, the lead agent called out. Weapon down. Now. Marcus's grip on Maya tightened. I walk out of here or she dies. Darius stepped forward, hands raised. You hurt her and there's nowhere on earth you can hide from me. Maya met Darius's eyes across the space, and something passed between them. Understanding. Trust. Someone cocked a weapon, and Marcus's attention flickered to the FBI agents, his grip loosening just slightly. That's when Maya moved. She dropped her weight suddenly, exactly as her self-defense instructor had taught her years ago, breaking Marcus's grip and throwing him off balance. The gun discharged into the concrete floor, the sound deafening in the enclosed space. The FBI tactical team swarmed in. Red laser sights cut through the air as agents shouted commands. Marcus tried to grab for Maya again, but Darius was already there, pulling her away, wrapping her in his arms as federal agents forced Marcus to the ground. "I've got you," Darius said into her hair, his voice shaking. "I've got you. You're safe." Marcus and his men were subdued within seconds, zip-tied, and read their rights. 27 counts of wire fraud, identity theft, money laundering, insurance fraud, and racketeering. The agent reciting the charges seemed to take particular satisfaction in the list. Sienna tried to run. She made it 3 steps toward a back exit before James, who'd arrived with backup teams, tackled her to the ground with surprising efficiency. "That's for trying to destroy my boss's company," James said cheerfully, holding Sienna down until agents could take over. "I've been wanting to do that for months." As they led Marcus and Sienna away in handcuffs, Maya sagged against Darius, adrenaline finally crashing. He held her tighter, one hand protectively over her stomach where their daughter was still safe. "It's over," he whispered. "It's really over." But the relief was short-lived. An ambulance arrived within minutes, the FBI insisting on immediate medical evaluation. Darius climbed in beside Maya, refusing to leave her side, his hand never letting go of hers as sirens wailed through the Chicago streets. Northwestern Memorial Hospital's emergency wing moved with controlled urgency. Maya was rushed to an examination room while Darius paced outside, terror clawing at his chest. The gun had discharged so close to her. She'd been restrained, threatened, her stress levels catastrophic. What if the trauma had harmed the baby? What if his daughter paid the price for his failure to protect them? When they finally allowed him in, Maya was already on the exam table, hospital gown replacing her dust-covered clothes. Her hand reached for his immediately, gripping tight enough to hurt. "I'm scared," she whispered. "Me too." He kissed her knuckles, pulling a chair close. "But she's strong. Like her mother." Dr. Okafor entered, efficient and kind, explaining the protocol. Ultrasound first, then vitals, blood panels to check for any complications from the trauma. Maya nodded mutely, and Darius felt her hand tremble in his. The ultrasound gel was cold. Maya flinched when the transducer touched her belly, and Darius's other hand found her shoulder, steadying her. The screen flickered to life. Grainy gray and white images that meant everything and nothing to Darius. Dr. Okafor worked in silence, moving the wand across Maya's abdomen with practiced precision. Seconds stretched into agonizing minutes. The only sound was the soft hum of the machine and Maya's shallow breathing. Darius couldn't read the doctor's expression. Professional. Neutral. His heart hammered against his ribs. Then Dr. Okafor smiled. "Your baby is perfectly healthy. Strong heartbeat. Normal measurements for 12 weeks. No signs of distress whatsoever." The sound filled the room. One rapid heartbeat, steady and strong. Maya's sob was immediate and raw. "You're sure?" Darius asked, voice breaking. "Completely sure?" Dr. Okafor pointed to the screen. "Right here. Your daughter is exactly where she should be." The adrenaline didn't cross the placental barrier enough to harm her. Babies are remarkably resilient, especially this early in development. Darius buried his face in Maya's shoulder, and she felt his tears hot against her skin. Her own streamed freely, relief so profound it felt like drowning and surfacing all at once. Dr. Okafor completed the rest of the examination. Maya's blood pressure was elevated but manageable. No bleeding, no cramping, no contractions. She prescribed rest, hydration, and a follow-up appointment in 2 days, then quietly left them alone. The hospital room settled into stillness. Maya stared at the ceiling, processing everything. Darius sat on the edge of her bed, still holding her hand like it was the only thing anchoring him to earth. Exhausted, tear-stained, beautiful. "What do you think now?" "I think maybe I was running toward something." She met his eyes. "Toward you. Toward this." His hand rested gently on her belly where their daughter was safe, where that steady heartbeat continued its rhythm. "Toward us." She touched his face, tracing the line of his jaw. "I'm terrified. I don't know how to do this. Be a mother." Be a partner. Build something real from one night. Neither do I. He leaned his forehead against hers, their breath mingling. But Maya, I'm in love with you. I think I have been since that first night when you called me out on my terrible attempt at being mysterious. She laughed through tears. It was pretty terrible. I know this isn't a fairy tale. It's messy and complicated and started in the worst possible way. His thumb brushed her cheek. But I choose you. Every day I choose you. You and our daughter. Will you let me? Maya was crying fully now, but her smile was radiant. Yes. Yes, I choose you too. They kissed, tender and deep, a promise being made without words. Outside, Chicago glittered in the darkness, the city that had brought them together in recklessness and chaos. But here, in this quiet hospital room, they were building something different. Something real. Darius pulled back from the kiss, his eyes bright with something that looked like nervousness. I have something. It's not much, but, he reached into his jacket pocket, and when he opened his hand, Maya saw a small silver lighter from Eclipse Nightclub. I went back the next day, he said quietly. Found the bartender who served us. You kept playing with this while we talked, remember? Flipping it open and closed every time you laughed. Even though you don't smoke. Maya's breath caught. She remembered. She'd been fidgeting with it all night, a nervous habit when she was trying not to be too obvious about how attracted she was to the stranger beside her. The bartender thought I was crazy, but he let me have it. I've been carrying it ever since. She took the lighter with trembling fingers, turning it over in the dim hospital light. There on the back, newly engraved in elegant script, were the words, M+D. One night equals forever. Maya's heart stopped. Darius slid off the bed, and despite the hospital setting, despite everything they'd been through in the past 24 hours, he knelt beside her. Marry me, Maya. Not for the company, not for appearances, not because of the baby. His voice was rough with emotion. Marry me because I want to spend every sunrise and every midnight with you. Because you make me laugh and challenge me and make me want to be better. Because that one reckless night was the best decision I ever made. And I want a lifetime of choosing you. Maya was sobbing, happy tears streaming down her face, her hand covering her mouth. That's the worst proposal speech ever. He laughed, the sound breaking with relief and joy. I know. I'm nervous. Yes. She pulled him up, pulled him close. Yes, I'll marry you, even with your terrible speeches. They kissed again, both laughing and crying, tasting salt and joy and the future stretching out before them. The lighter pressed between their joined hands, a token of the night that changed everything. A soft knock interrupted them. James appeared at the door, and he wasn't alone. Behind him, someone in a wheelchair smiled at them with tears streaming down her face. Mama. Maya's voice was barely a whisper. Her mother wheeled herself forward, stronger than Maya had seen her in months. Color back in her cheeks, life in her eyes. Did he finally do it? Lorraine Torres asked. You brought her here? Maya looked at Darius in wonder. James arranged it, Darius said. I called him when we were in the ambulance. Your mother was already on her way. Medical transport with a nurse, fully covered. Your insurance was reinstated the moment the FBI froze Marcus's accounts, James added. All fraudulent charges reversed. The surgery is scheduled for next week, fully covered. Lorraine wheeled herself to the bedside, taking Maya's free hand. Did you say yes? I did. Good. Lorraine beamed. Because me Hija, you deserve this. You deserve everything. After all you've done for me, after all you've sacrificed, you deserve someone who looks at you the way he does. Maya pulled her mother into a hug, careful of the 4 still in her arm. You're really okay? The surgery is happening, Lorraine confirmed. Thanks to you. Thanks to your investigation, hundreds of families are getting their insurance restored. Their lives back. You did that, baby. James cleared his throat. Also, the FBI wants to offer you a position as a consultant on financial crimes. The Arts Council wants to give you an award for your work on this case. And there's talk of congressional testimony about insurance fraud protections. Maya looked overwhelmed. Can we just have a moment? Just us. James smiled. Of course. Congratulations, both of you. And Maya, welcome to the chaos. He winked at Darius. He's terrible at proposals, but he makes excellent coffee, and he's surprisingly good at jazz piano. After they left, promising to check in tomorrow, Darius climbed onto the hospital bed beside Maya, carefully arranging himself so he wasn't jostling her. His hand rested on her belly, feeling their daughter safe beneath. "Girl or boy?" she asked softly, then laughed. "We already know. Girl. What do you want to name her?" Darius asked. Maya was quiet for a moment. "Something that means strength. Something that means hope." "Zara," Darius said. "It means blooming flower. New beginning." Maya smiled, testing the name. "Zara Torres Kane." "Perfect. When should we do this?" "The wedding." "Soon," he said. "Before you're too pregnant to dance. Before the world gets too complicated again." She nodded, imagining it. "Somewhere small. Just us and the people we love." "The Art Institute," Darius suggested. "I can arrange it. Small ceremony in the garden. Just family. No press, no performance. Just real." "Just real," she agreed, kissing his temple. They sat together in the quiet hospital room, listening to the soft beep of monitors and the distant sounds of the city outside. The lighter sat on the bedside table, catching the light. One night had become forever, and somehow, impossibly, it felt exactly right. "Darius." Maya's voice was drowsy, exhaustion finally catching up with her. "Yeah. I'm glad I went to that club." He laughed quietly, holding her closer. "Best decision you ever made." "Second best," she corrected, already drifting toward sleep. "The best was saying yes." As she fell asleep in his arms, Darius stared at the lighter and smiled. One night in a nightclub had given him everything he didn't know he was missing. A partner, a family, a future built on something real. And it all started with a woman who dared to be reckless. 6 months later, Maya woke to the sound of soft crying. Not distressed crying, the gentle fussing that meant Zara was ready for breakfast. She found Darius in the nursery of their new brownstone in Hyde Park, standing beside the crib, holding their daughter against his chest. Zara was 2 months old, impossibly tiny in her father's arms, her dark curls already showing hints of Maya's texture. He was crying, shoulders shaking with silent sobs, pressing kisses to her downy head. "Darius." Maya's voice was gentle. He looked up, tears streaming freely. "She's so small. So perfect. I keep thinking about how close I came to never knowing her." "Never knowing you." She crossed to him, wrapping her arms around both of them. "But you do know us. We're here. We're real." He kissed her, tasting salt and joy. "I love you. God, I love you both so much." Maya looked at him. This man who'd been a stranger 9 months ago. The reckless choice that became her husband, the father of her child, the person she chose every single day. "I love you too." Zara started fussing louder, her tiny face scrunching in pre-cry warning. Darius laughed, bouncing gently. Okay. Breakfast time." "I know." They settled into the familiar rhythm of feeding, burping, changing. Maya watched Darius with their daughter and felt her heart expand impossibly. He sang to her softly, terrible off-key lullabies that somehow worked every time. The doorbell chimed. Lorraine breezed in, vibrant and healthy. The surgery had been successful. She was cancer-free, color back in her cheeks and strength in her movements. "Where's my grandbaby?" Lorraine called out, making grabby hands for Zara. "Your grandbaby?" Darius protested but handed over his daughter with practiced care. Lorraine settled into the rocking chair, cooing at her granddaughter. "I'm the favorite grandmother. It's already established." She looked up at Maya, eyes shining. "She's beautiful. You made a beautiful baby." "We did," Darius corrected, pulling Maya against his side. James arrived an hour later with coffee and news. Marcus and Sienna's sentencing came through. 25 years for Marcus, 22 for Sienna. No possibility of parole for the first 10. Maya felt vindication settle in her chest. And the victims' restitution fund? Distributing recovered assets. Over 300 families getting their insurance restored, medical debts cleared. Your investigation did that. We all did, Maya said. James turned to Darius. The board approved your restructuring proposal. Kane Productions is officially transitioning from corporate entertainment to community arts programming. You're partnering with the Arts Council on the Youth Initiative. Stock prices are up 18%. Darius looked around the room. His wife holding their daughter. Lorraine rocking her grandbaby. James, who'd become family rather than just staff. Best decision I ever made. Leaving corporate entertainment? James asked. No. He kissed Maya's temple. Ordering whiskey at a bar and talking to a stranger. Maya laughed. Second best decision. First was not running when I told you about Zara. Never, he promised. Outside, Chicago glittered in the afternoon sun. The city of second chances had given them both exactly that. And this time, they weren't leaving anything to chance. Hey, star. Maya walked into a club and found forever. What if your one-click subscribing to this channel brings you hundreds of amazing stories that keep you hooked to your screen? Subscribe now to join this lovely family so you don't miss out on my next story. Also, check out the pinned comment. Let's have a little interaction. Here's hoping I'll see you in my next story. Lots of love.